Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so hopefully some people are joining us and you can hear us. That seems, I feel really, really short.
Yeah. Is it the
A
chairs?
little better. I don't know. You just get to
That's
see
a
our
little
heads.
better.
Okay, so if you're watching, can you just let us know if you can hear us? Okay.
So we've got some new
mics.
fancy microphones that are wireless, so you guys don't get to laugh at us carrying around the dance of the microphone wires anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's like the Nutcracker Leabu style.
Sure.
Oh, good. Your mom said she can hear us.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay.
Okay. So welcome to Tuesday. It's
Yes.
Tuesday again.
Mm-hmm. And I spent so much time making sure that worked that I didn't pay attention to where it was
That's
actually
okay.
sitting.
It's gonna work.
So
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So it's a
I could stand up, but then they would really get. If I went,
yeah.
that would probably not be the look that we want to go for, because I have a little bit of
Extra
showing. Maybe if I lean forward like that, that might not be the look we want to go for.
No.
So,
all right.
it'll work fantastic. So,
Right. That's not on yet. Sorry, guys. So
Donk.
yeah, donk, right?
Badonka-donk.
Badonka-donk. So today
We're gonna do Sergers.
we are going to attempt
We're gonna attempt to do
Sergers. Yes, I think we now have all of the pieces and parts that we need.
Yeah, we've been kind of running around going, oh, we need that. Oh, crap. We got over here. We sat down. We're talking. We both look and we're like, that machine's not on. There's no power cord. We might need a power cord.
Yeah.
So then
they might want to see what it looks like with power on.
Power is helpful.
Yeah.
You know, it's the little things in life. So,
all right. There we go. We're going to get this together. I could have put the foot up. Okay. So we do have the big boy on the table here.
Makes it a little easier for you guys to see what's going on when there's a little bit more room.
Yes.
To see.
But honestly, what we're going to talk about today is going to go, I think it'll resonate for everybody who has a serger.
Absolutely.
Because even though this machine is super easy to thread, everything that we talk about will be relevant to all sergers.
All of the sergers that are of this type.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if you did purchase your serger from us, and it is a fancy baby lock, it doesn't have to be this fancy.
It doesn't.
But we are going to be sending out a newsletter soon with classes, and
hopefully this afternoon.
I am going to bring back Serger Club.
Dun 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 dun.
Right. So, and my goal is that we'll kind of expand on what we're talking about here. So it won't be exactly the same thing. But we are going to go back to the beginning and go back to the basics of the sergers, the different styles of stitches and things like that. So
got to start at the beginning.
That's right. If you did purchase your serger from us, the class will be free. If you didn't purchase your serger from us, you will have two choices. You can either pay the $20 for the class, or if you have already purchased one of our punch cards, you will be able to use that. I haven't figured out a way to get punch cards virtual. I bet you there's a way we can do it. Like if they bring us their unused punch cards, we can create like some sort of a gift certificate or something good for them.
So many times,
yes. But I've been mulling.
It would be really fun if we could figure out like a graphic that when they click it, it would go like boom on the screen. Yeah. That would be so fun. I'm not that good. I don't know how to do that. But if any of you know how to do that, or you know some, that would be really cool.
Hook us up.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
If like when you punched your card, your screen just went boom.
Yes.
That would be fun.
So I have been mulling around with some ideas, but they haven't come to fruition
We haven't
yet.
figured out a way to make that not physical.
But we are mulling it around, just so you guys know.
Hi, Shirley.
Yes. I wonder if Shirley is in a different...
I was just wondering, like, what? That's new.
Yeah, wasn't in the same space. So, did you have a nice weekend? Yeah, I had a nice weekend. 24 years yesterday. That was our anniversary.
Did you? And you still didn't do anything?
We didn't. No. Honestly, I'm like mentally exhausted still.
I'm right there with you.
Peopling. Sometimes
yeah,
they're exhausting, and it's not
It's not
necessarily
it's
just
not like any
here.
person or anything.
No.
It's just the big picture
Yeah,
of everything is harder than it should be
it is.
for whatever reason. And it's like January has been exhausting.
Yeah, and we're only like halfway through. Right? It's been crazy, and
It has been absolutely a little involved in here.
right. And we have been so busy here, which is great.
Which is great. Nobody's complaining.
No.
It's just I was saying to Carolyn and Hayden yesterday, I'm just like, my husband hasn't been feeling great, and he actually took a couple of days off. He had some of those 6 days he had to use, or he was going to lose them. He was like, well, I don't really feel great. I'm just going to stay home.
Yeah.
So he did. Well, he usually works midnights, which means I'm used to sleeping alone in my bed during the week when I have to get up and come to work and everything. So I didn't have the bed to myself. And not only, he normally, when he is home, like on weekends, he stays up way later than me on average because he works midnights.
Right.
So, I mean, it makes sense, right?
Why change your schedule?
Why change the schedule on the other days? And so I was just thinking the same thing that your face is saying.
I thought he was pulling that cord, right? We were giving you this.
What are you doing? And not only did he not go in the family room to watch his TV at midnight and whatever, he pretty much stayed in our bedroom for like the whole week. So like it's midnight, 1 a.m. He's got the TV on, and I'm just like, I just want to sleep.
That's funny. Yeah.
And so I'm a little tired because I haven't slept quite as well as I normally do. And
yeah.
And then, if there's any men watching, I apologize ahead of time. Men are babies when they're sick.
Sometimes.
At least my men are. And most men that I've known.
Yeah,
they
sometimes
just
they
tend to, and so it was, he'd roll over. Just like,
and you're like, oh.
and I'm just like, you're going to have a reason to moan here in a minute because I'm going to smack you upside the head. I'm trying to sleep. But yeah, so bless his heart. He's feeling better. He went back to work. So I'm like, going to bed. I was in bed at 9:30 last night. Love you, Samantha.
Right in your world
she
again.
called me at 10:30. I was like, hi, honey. How are you?
That's funny.
She got a new puppy.
Oh, yeah. She's not getting sleep.
Nope. Actually, she said the puppy cried for like 10 minutes and then went to bed.
Yeah.
Whimpered a little bit. However, she lives right by a train track, which so do we. And evidently, puppy does not like trains.
Oh, yeah.
Loves tennis balls,
Sometimes.
but not like trains. So she said it's kind of adorable, but she feels bad every time a train goes by, which is like once an hour.
Right.
The puppy runs from wherever he's at and hides behind her legs. Wherever she's at.
Wherever
she just,
she's at.
Shoo, and hides behind her wherever she is.
That's cute.
He's like, so it's really cute, but I feel really bad. It's kind of nice because he comes running for me to protect him. But
protect me, Mom.
But it's kind of
That's cute.
So yes, we have a. Not sure how I want to say that. I have a grand puppy.
Yeah, you have a grandbaby.
I have a grand puppy.
Grandpets.
But he's a golden, so a little jelly because I miss my golden.
Who doesn't love a golden retriever?
Right? I mean, and we had one for a long time, so I'm a little jealous. Very, very cute little guy. His name is Chester, short for Winchester, because well, her boyfriend's a little gun happy, so that's where it came from.
Cute.
At first I was like, Chester, where did you come up with Chester? I mean, but then when I found out it was short for Winchester, that made a lot more sense, and I'm like, okay, now I get it.
I used to have a cat named Chester.
I just was like, Chester.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And then we were talking about it yesterday, and I don't remember who it was. Must have been probably Hayden. He was like, there was a character on Fairly Odd Parents that was named. It's like, yes, there was. Now that you mention it.
Yes, there was.
Yes, there was. Okay.
So,
enough about the grand puppy.
Yes, that's super exciting, though. Yes.
I don't know when I'll get to meet this grand puppy, though.
Well, maybe you'll visit next year. Yeah. Dave's off today. He's got, yesterday he was off because of Martin Luther King Day, so it was a government holiday. But since he works for the government, he has way more.
Lots of time off.
He has a lot of time that he can take off, and of course, if you can bank so many hours, but after that you start losing them. So he was
use it or lose it.
Right. He was like, you should stay home today. I'm like, Lisa will kill me. I should go to work.
She's probably not wrong.
She'd probably drive to my house and make me and just bring me to work rather than saying, you're okay, that sounds good for me.
Well, bare minimum, it would be you're logging in. We're not doing this by ourselves. So, yeah, I think we've both been here on a Tuesday when either we've been sick or, well, we've both been here on vacations and other things.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of a silent agreement of we will be there on Tuesday.
That's right. That's right. So,
all right. So this is the Triumph, which is the top of the line, beautiful baby lock.
My hair out of the way.
Baby lock serger. So we have taken the table and the cover off there so you guys can see the guts. And so this is the cat's meow here, guys.
Yep, it has everything. So up to
Literally.
8 threads. But this part of the machine here is pretty much the same. It's so weird, right? The delay is pretty much the same as it is.
If you have an Imagine, a Victory, oh Lord, we just did all of this.
Yes.
All of those from an Imagine or Victory up.
Yeah, anything that has basically a stitch
an ABCD
dial
switch.
It might be in a slightly different spot, but you would have a stitch dial as well.
It might be a little small.
It could be a little bit smaller.
Could be a little bit
Absolutely. But this one is it's big, and so there's lots of extra space here. So you should still be able to see even when we have our hands in the way.
Yep.
So starting at the top here, most of the sergers, even if it's not a baby lock, they will have a space for 4 threads. You will typically have a left and a right needle. And so on our machine, we have a left needle and we have a right needle. It's super hard. The left needle is on the left and the right needle is the one right next to the left.
You know, I have said over and over again, I've said it even recently, and that's one of the things that both the brother and the baby lock make super simple is they're so user friendly.
Yes.
You know, we've both come from other brands before we started. I mean, I never sold them or anything, but I used them. And the user friendly aspect of these machines, whether it be a serger or sewing or an embroidery machine, it's just, I don't want to say it's dummy proof because it's not quite
pretty close.
But it is, they have literally just made everything down to common sense, and it really is there. So it's so nice.
Yes. So we have our 2 needles here, and then we have our upper looper and our lower looper. And
if you can't remember that, there's a little code right there.
Yes, right below, which you probably can't see specifically, but this says U for upper looper and L for lower looper. And then we have a third opening here that says C, which is the chain stitch looper. That is also here, or the cover hem looper, whatever you want to refer to that.
Whichever floats your boat. Same thing.
Yes. And then we have a button here that is going to be push to thread. So that pushes the loopers, the air through the tubes when we close them. And then there's a big red mark on here that says,
very
do
important,
not oil. And so the one thing that I want to stress the most is, don't lick your thread. Don't put any
You're not putting moisture in these guys here.
Yeah, because what that's going to do is you're just going to make it so that thread and debris, they want to hang out in that specific area there, which is just going to make it harder for you to push your thread in. So you don't want to do that for sure.
Instead of licking,
yes,
you want to use something like this. So I, in particular, have super icky skin. It's always dry. I'm always needing lotion and things. So thread likes to stick to me when I go to put it in that looper hole in the port. When I drop it in and I pull my hand away and the thread comes with my hand instead of staying where I put it. So your first reaction is going to be, and you think that, don't do that. Use tweezers. Don't do that.
So our plate at the top here is also marked, as well as the little pieces up here. I know you can't see those pieces. I can maybe get that a little lower.
Not a whole lot.
Nope.
Not enough
so
to matter.
You'll just have to take my word on. There are
on the
letters.
What's called the thread tree, which is where you're going to extend off the spool up top, is marked on the Triumph very, very clearly. And it's also marked on the Ovation. What colors you gonna use?
I was thinking about using black in the looper, so maybe they can see the thread coming down, and then maybe I'll use pink over by the needles.
That sounds fantastic because you love pink.
It's pretty rose. It's mauve.
It's
Does
still
that
pink.
make it better?
No.
No. All right. So I am going to set the threads on the appropriate space. If you had your thread sitting on the wrong spool here, bad things won't happen as long as you have your threads in the proper parts at the top here. Because we have the dial here, this is really what makes a difference, because this dial is going to play a part in how the machine gives us tension.
So as long as you connect it back here and slide them forward in the appropriate slide,
yes,
for lack of a groove, as long as they're in the right groove for the stitch that you have selected to thread for, you're good. Whether it's on the lower looper, what's that called? Post,
yes.
Just
yes.
Or whether you've decided to put it somewhere else, doesn't matter as long as it's threaded in the correct position.
Absolutely. Okay. And so upper looper and lower looper, we have a little thing in the back here that it really just clips in. It's like a groove that's like this, and essentially you push the thread down in it and it clips in place, and so it's really easy.
There's the click.
There's the click. So now I have my threads down here. So this on this particular machine is the part that raises and lowers my presser foot. Again, we're threading, so we want to have our foot up on all sergers. You should thread your machine with your foot up. That's super important on all sewing machines as well.
Same goes.
The dial is over here. This bar here happens to be my differential feed. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. But we need to prep this machine so that we can do our loopers. And so in order to do that, we need to make sure that the area over here is closed, because we're going to whoosh our air all the way through. So I'm going to turn this little button down here. It's a dial. It says surging. And then I'm going to turn it to threading. And then I do need to turn my hand wheel. So I want to turn my hand wheel towards me until the machine basically stops turning, and it will make kind of a loud clunk or clatter or click or
It'll
something.
make a pretty good clunk. You'll hear it. There it
so
goes.
So there we go.
So just as a side note, this lever is on these machines with this type of a button. From the Imagine and the Victory and a couple of those at that level, there is a button that you'll hold in and then turn that. So there's not a lever that you would flip on those machines. There's literally a button that you push in and hold while you're turning the hand wheel. So if you're looking at this going, mine doesn't look like that. There's two different setups. One is the button and turn, and then one's the lever and turn. Same thing. Same thing's going to happen. And
we had this set up for cover hemming first. So my upper looper is actually down, so I need to turn my hand wheel because
there wasn't
anything here to close. So there we go. Now I'm going to do that again. Now,
there we go.
Now I have everything closed. So I'm looking down here in this corner here, and I'm making sure that everything that has a tube is basically connected to something. So if you're looking inside your machine and you do this click, and there is something that's not connecting inside, then when you whoosh your air through, it's not going to go up to.
Doesn't know where to go.
That's right. It's just going to fall. It's like where the sidewalk ends. It just stops. Okay.
All right, Silverstein.
So now we have to make sure that our threads are super long here. So there's a lot of path that they need to follow. So I'm going to pull some excess thread, and I usually just touch my thighs. And that gives me a pretty long loopy thread here. So you can see I've got quite a big thread here. And on this particular machine, we can actually do both the upper looper and the lower looper at the same time if we choose to. So I'm just grabbing the thread, and then I'm going to just push it into the little hole here. And then
I was just gonna say, the ability to do both is not available on all. Some of them have a little switch that you have to tell which one you're gonna do.
And like magic, here's my thread.
So no following a path, no where does this go next?
No
Drop it in the
worrying.
port,
Yep.
push the button.
I don't have to worry about whether or not I threaded it in the right order. And there you have it. I've got it down there. So both of my loopers are now threaded. Whether or not you have a little dial here or you have a little push button here and you do one at a time, literally, regardless of how you're doing that, that is the beauty of a baby lock serger. Super easy to do this part, and it takes literally no effort whatsoever. It doesn't matter if I do my upper or my lower or both of them at the same time. The machine does not care, and it makes sure that it's perfect for you every time. Now, this machine also has air threading for our needles, and we have two machines in the lineup that have air threading for the loopers.
We sure do.
We have the Triumph, and then we have the Acclaim. Now, the Triumph is the top of the line. Yes, not a traditional serger. But it does have threading for the loopers. It is it air threading?
What?
The Euphoria?
It's on the same frame.
But it's not the same style, because I just did it the other day.
Well, I haven't done it yet. I haven't got a plan that
There is threading for the Euphoria. It is slightly different than this. It's not a tremendous amount different, but it is a little bit different to this. So if you have a Euphoria, you do have needle threaders. It's just a little bit different. And really, this one and the Acclaim are almost exactly the same. The difference is that on this machine, I have two choices. I have my chain and cover needles, which are actually in front, and then I have the needles in the back, which are the overlock. Since we're talking about overlocking and that part of the machine, we need to slide this over here so that we can do that. So here is the path that we're getting ready to do that. So when we are pulling down this lever here to do threading for our needles, and this is for both the Acclaim and this machine, we need to make sure that we leave the machine in the threading over here, because that makes sure that we have everything where we want it to be. Now, I don't actually have any needles in here yet, so I could try really, really hard, but they are not going to thread.
It's not going to thread if there's nothing there.
Right?
Yeah. So like she said, there's front and back, if you will, positions. The back is the overlock needles. So you have a right and a left, or a 1 and 2, depending upon which setup you are looking at. Left is 1, right is 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we now have 2 needles in there. That's how complicated that was.
Super easy.
One of the added benefits to this machine is these screws will not fall out. So it's super hard to screw that up. On the other machines, you do need to be careful and make sure that you are not over loosening and then not tightening them. So even if you don't have a needle in your right needle position, you would still want to make sure that that screw was tight, so that
sorry about my arm there, guys,
that doesn't vibrate out of the way.
There we go.
And fall into the machine when you're stitching. So you always want to make sure that you're on all of the other machines, that those screws are tight.
Tight, yes, but these ones will not.
These ones will not.
Back
That is
out.
a nice little benefit there.
So I have the pink thread in the 2 needle positions, and so overlock
Small.
1, yes, is over here, and that is the one that is 01, or my left needle, and then we have overlock 2, which is our right needle. It's on the right.
It is?
It is.
Imagine that.
And then I'm gonna just click this in place. I'll try and do it this way so that my arm isn't in everybody's face here. So there and here. Now, what I typically do when I am threading my needles, on each of the machines, it's not the same. Like the opening for where
Right.
the needle part isn't the same on every single serger. The opening for the needles on this one is on the right
hand side.
So I'm going to start with my left needle.
So that you don't overlap and twist your threads.
Exactly.
Yep.
If they twist and they overlap, it's not going to actually be a really big deal. It just sometimes.
I'm just a little OCD about my thread. How about you?
Yeah.
So
if I can prevent anything from potentially happening, I'm going to try that because
Absolutely.
It does stitch at a pretty decent
pretty
pace.
good clip. Yep.
And so this is like a regular sewing machine part. So we've got our needle threads over here, and we're going to come over to the left. There's a little guide here, which again, all it's doing is keeping the thread straight where it needs to be. And then we're going to come underneath this part and then go over top of here and then come straight down to our needles. So it's really like a regular sewing machine in that sense.
Yes, it is.
We always have to go up and over and around. And
so this would be like your take-up lever.
It would be just like your take-up lever.
Same concept.
Yep. And again, we still have our presser foot up. So we want to make sure that we have that. And again, I'm going to just start with the left side, and I'm just coming up and over. And then I'm going to it's kind of like flossing. So I've got my little thread here, and I'm just going to come underneath the thread, the guide over here, so that I can get the thread close to the needle. And then I'm going to pull down the lever on the left side over here. I've moved this piece to the overlocker side. It's the part that basically sends the vacuum tube to the right section. If this is in the left side, it's going to send the vacuum part to the front needles instead of the back.
Yeah. So there's only one tube. You got to tell it where you want it to blow to.
Yes. And so I've just pulled it down over here. And if you're looking really closely at the screen, you can see there's some yellow back here. The yellow is the part that actually has like the vacuum sucker.
So this one isn't a blow. This one is a...
Yes. And so sound effects are free.
Always free. Always here for you guys.
And really, when I turn this on, it's a little bit loud and obnoxious, so I do apologize. But
you kind of like an air compressor.
It is. You just need to get the thread close to the area where the hole is. It doesn't have to be exactly on it, just close, and then you'll feel it sort of pull. Well, you might not feel it, but you'll notice it actually just pulls in.
The thing that I have when I'm teaching this, you gotta let go.
Yes, if you don't
that's
let go.
The hard part. You gotta let go, or else it won't ever suck inside. You have to let go of the end of that. So
I'm gonna push it. It's gonna get loud. And then you can do them both at the same time. I do like to just pull one up at a time. And so
especially when we're showing people how this works.
Yes, it's pulled that up. And then of course I did a really good job and almost tied myself into a knot. So here we go. We have our pink thread. Mauve. It is it's on, it's done. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So I have my thread over here. I'm going to bring it across, up, and then again I'm going to kind of like floss that to get it behind. It's kind of like a shelf back there. And then I'm going to pull that down.
So there is a little guide that you get that snaps in front of it. Honestly, I haven't found anybody that actually loves that. Most of us just do this. The guide just extends that little groove out a little bit farther, so it helps you find where to put the thread a little bit supposedly easier. Mm-hmm. To me, it just gets in the way.
They don't show that piece on any of the Baby Laugh videos any longer. So I'm not even 100% sure if it still comes with the machine.
The last one I opened up, it still was in there. For a while, it was like loose. It didn't come in the box. Mm-hmm. And last time I looked, it still came in the box.
So I am, again, just holding it close, pushing that on. This will automatically stop too if you have it on long enough. It's like 10 seconds or something 7
like that.
Or 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's not very long. And then it pulls that tail thread up.
Yeah. And we had really long thread. I don't normally keep my needle threads quite that long, but so now we have the machine threaded. So we are threaded for a standard four thread. We have basically the standard foot that comes on this machine. the Serger machines themselves, they only come with 1 foot. They all only come with 1 foot. If they're coming with a foot package, it's an additional package that either Baby Lock is sponsoring or your dealer is sponsoring. But they just come with 1 standard foot. It doesn't matter if it's the combo machine that we're talking about or if it is the other machine. They just come with the 1 foot. So because this machine was actually set up for cover hemming first, we have a recipe card, and the recipe card will tell us how we need to continually set up the machine. I know because we have the left needle in that I need to have my stitch selector on A. That is just what you do. And I know that I need to make sure that I have my upper looper up. I wouldn't have been able to thread it if it wasn't. And then there is a subsidiary looper guide here, which will turn your machine into basically a 2-thread machine instead of a 3-thread or a 4-thread. It basically convinces your machine that your upper looper is threaded even when it isn't. And so we want to make sure that it is disengaged. So it
be to the right.
Should be hanging out to the right. It's harder to engage than
it doesn't activate on accident anymore.
Right.
It's definitely a purposeful action. So we're in that upper left-hand corner for a 4-thread overlock. And you can see it says everything. It even says that subsidiary looper in the bottom right hand of that gray area at the top. It tells you which cover to put on the machine, which is the knife cover in this instance. It tells you whether you want your blade up or down. It literally gives you everything. So
and then gives you a little picture of the type of stitch,
what it should look like when you're done. So everything is color coded there for you, just like it's color coded on the machine, whether you're in an overlock or a cover type stitch. You have color coding on that thread card as well. So it's, like I said, it's not completely dummy proof. I mean, no one would ever say, I mean, there's always going to be some questions and things out there, but they have definitely made this as simplified down as they could. So to answer a couple of the questions that popped up, the Imagine, which would be, again, the same as the Victory is right now, is a smaller machine. So the standard foot is actually a more narrow foot than what you are seeing in front of you right here. So they are not the same feet. So if you purchased feet for the Imagine or the Victory, they are not the same feet that you would be purchasing for the Triumph or the Evolution or the Ovation or the Accolade. Those
or
are
vice versa.
Right. So there are, and those are on the other side of the store, but they are carded boxes, and there are pink cards and there are green cards. And this machine takes the green cards. The Imagine and Victory size machine takes the pink cards. So they are 2 different size feet.
And that's because the Imagines, the Victories, the 4-thread, the standard machines, as Lisa was saying, it's narrower because they only have 1 set of needles. And on the combo machines, we have another grouping. So we have to have an opening over there to accommodate that. That also makes our feed dogs a little bit wider.
The feed dogs are wider on this machine. So the foot needs to cover that entire feed dog mechanism there. So you have a bigger feed system and foot system on this machine here.
Absolutely. And Cindy, we aren't trying to ignore you. But I don't know that we can technically talk about the price online. We can tell you what the MSRP price is and then tell you that we have it on sale.
So, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yes.
So, we're not completely ignoring you. We're just not to,
there are certain,
and of course we're always happy to sell machines, but that really is not the goal of this particular conversation. So that's, we'll talk about that when we get to the end of everything, just to answer any questions that you guys have. But
keep asking questions if you have questions.
Absolutely. Please do.
And we will definitely make sure that we answer them. So, we're going to talk about what some of the other pieces and parts are on this machine. So because this is a combo machine, we have extra spaces over here that you wouldn't find on a normal serger, not a normal sewing machine. This is for that chain looper. So I'm going to tell you what it is, but we aren't going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the standard stuff over here. On this machine here, this piece here is what controls all of the tensions on the machine. And
That's
then
the magic wand over there.
Yes, I am sliding this. Actually, I'll leave this off so that I can
see
show
this a little
these
bit
pieces.
easier. Yeah.
The top button over here, this is the stitch width. And the width of a serge stitch is a little bit different than the width of a regular sewn stitch.
You don't say.
Right? In the sense that, you know, I can put my 5mm stitch on my sewing machine any place that I want it to be.
Right.
But on this serger, when I'm set up like this, the machine is going to be trimming the edge of it. And so it's
however, from that edge of the fabric
mm-hmm.
to the, oops, I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah, to the leftmost needle, whichever needle that happens to be, the furthest needle from the blade. And that is a finished size because it cuts the remainder of the fabric off. So that is, there's always going to be two numbers on here. The larger number is referencing from the blade to the left needle, and the smaller number is a reference from the blade to the right needle. Yep. And depending on which you have in, whatever the furthest needle you have in, that's what position you're going to be in. So I can do a narrower 4-thread than I can do a larger 3-thread based on the position of the needle. And so that can be a little bit confusing on this knob here, but that's why there are two numbers. And honestly, it doesn't really matter. Like, you just need to be like near the numbers. It doesn't have to be, it's not that precise. It's close.
Right. So when you're moving that, you're actually moving your blade
mm-hmm.
because your needles aren't moving. So unlike your sewing machine, when you adjust that, your needle is actually moving.
Right. And
on here, your blade is what is moving because
mm-hmm.
your needles are specific.
And so it's this whole plate right here that moves when we move this left or right. I know it's really hard.
I can attempt to zoom in if you guys think that would work.
But it's this moving this plate in and out. And if you're sitting in front of your serger and you're doing this, that's
you
where
would
you
absolutely
want to
see
look.
that. That is, you would literally see the top of that blade
mm-hmm.
moving when you turn your width dial,
yes.
because that is what happens. And Kathy, yes, Serger Club is virtual right now. Everything that we are doing is still virtual. We are not yet pulling in-house classes,
unless they're just one-on-one,
right?
For owners
lessons on the machines themselves.
The knob, the other big knob at the bottom here says standard and then rolled, and that has to do with your stitch length. So how close together your length actually is.
Does that help at all?
Maybe. Now we can't see the length button. I got it pretty tight there. There you go. So here is your length option, and this was that stitch width option. And this little knob over here is my blade, and it's turned on right now. It says lock. Now it's locked down, so it won't actually come up at all. So in order for it to be working, you need to not see any words on it. So width, and again, when I move this, you'll probably be able to see this part of the plate shift ever so slightly. So you can see it get closer. Now it's a little bit more flush. And then when we make it wider, it moves out ever so slightly. And so this whole mechanism here is shifting closer or further apart. So that is our length and our width dials on the machine. So width and length, and then our blade. And that is how we would set up for our particular stitch. So there we go. Now I'm going to slide the cover back on here. So you can see that's how easy it was for me to put that on. And then I will close that piece up and I will close my door back. Now, some of the sergers, so newer sergers in the lineup, they have some safety features. If I'm in threading, it will not let me close my door. It will also not let me stitch when I have my foot up. So it's currently down here. If I were to try to actually take a stitch right now, it's basically just dead. So nothing
She's got
happens.
her foot down on the foot pedal, but nothing is happening. So that is a really great feature because if any of you have
nothing. So I just like to say it's kind of freaky when you actually put your foot on this and nothing happens.
You're like, oh my God, I broke it.
You're like, I killed my serger. How did I do this?
I just broke it.
Yes.
But it's actually a good thing because I don't know how many of you have had to remove serger stitches, but it's not fun because there's 4 threads going on in some of those things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of threads to remove. And yes, there is a technique that helps them come out easier, but it's still no fun. There is no magic that it just falls apart. So it's not like when you're sewing and you can get one and then just pull there is no such thing as getting one thread and pulling and everything falls apart in serging. It can get a little bit, but then you're still working at it. And unfortunately, I'm experienced at removing serger stitches because when your foot is up and you put enough stuff underneath here, it looks sometimes like the foot is down.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you have enough shoved underneath there, it looks like the foot is down. And so
even if you don't have a lot of stuff underneath there, it angles down.
It angles down. And so you don't necessarily realize by visual that the foot is up. And so unfortunately, I have an Ovation, which I love. It's a beautiful machine. And stitch wise, it stitches exactly like this machine.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
But it doesn't have that safety feature and it doesn't have the air threading in the needles. Those are really the two differences. They've moved a couple parts, but stitch wise, it's exactly the same machine. But that safety feature right there is one thing that I'm just like, man, I'm about ready to sell my Ovation and buy a Triumph because I unfortunately sew with my foot up on way too many occasions.
It's really easy.
And so it's such a wonderful thing when I hit that foot pedal and nothing happens. I'm like, oh, thank God. It's like, oh, bless it.
I didn't mess that.
I didn't screw that up. I don't have to take out a whole bunch, and you realize it pretty quick as soon as you get, a few stitches back there that you can see because they don't look right.
Right.
But unfortunately, you have already stitched a good couple of inches in there. And if you've cut fabric because you're overlocking.
Yep.
For sure. So wonderful feature to have.
The other thing that your serger has is differential feet. And
let's talk about that a little bit.
All sergers have differential feet. It doesn't matter what version of serger you're talking about. There is differential feed on it. And basically, there are 2 sets of feed dogs on your serger. And this controls the speed at which they are working in conjunction with each other.
Yep.
So you have, and the variation of your numerical system may be slightly different on your version of the serger, but everybody has either 0 or neutral.
Yep.
Which means that both the feed dogs are working at the same pace.
Yep. I could try. And I can do together, but once you start,
it gets confusing.
I can't do the other ones.
So, the number 2 is easy. That means that it's working twice as fast.
I can do that math.
As the N.
I can't explain it here, but I can do the math.
Yes. And so, if you have one set of feed dogs that's working faster, it's going to do one of 2 things for you. If your fabric is stretching, all right, this will alleviate the stretch because it tends to gather the fabric or it moves the other one faster so that if your fabric is squishing up like this, if I have the one in the back pulling it faster, it will lay the fabric flat. So the thing that I always tell people that can be super confusing about differential is you want to do the opposite of what the picture shows you. Which I really think that it's because if you are intentionally trying to gather, you would go up, which is what the picture is showing you to do. It's the intentional purpose of that.
Right.
But the unintentional purpose of that is to get your fabrics to lay flat. And so if your fabric is gathering, then you need to go towards
the bottom.
To the bottom. You need to go towards the opposite picture. So if you see the picture, if that's what your fabric is doing, do the opposite.
So in a nutshell, what those are doing is when you're going up, you are feeding faster in than it's pulling out, which is forcing it to bunch up.
Yes.
And when you are putting it down, it's feeding faster out the back than it's coming in the front, which is smoothing out something that's puckering on its own. So you've got two sets there, and you are adjusting which one's moving faster. And at neutral, they are moving literally at the same speed. So
technically, the front feed dog always works at the same pace. And it's...
Yes, but it makes more sense if you explain it my way.
But what happens is you are adjusting the push or the pull of your back feed dog.
Right.
So whether or not it's pushing the fabric or pulling, the fabric, that is basically what your differential does. And you use that push or that pull to compensate
for whatever's happening,
whatever is going on,
or whatever you want to happen.
That's right. So like I said, you can be intentional, because gathering with a serger is
so much easier than gathering with a sewing machine.
And you can do it intentionally, and it's very easy to do. But you can also do things like lettuce edges and ruffles and things like that. And again, intentionally, we can stretch the fabric to get a different look. So you can be intentional, or you can compensate for something that you don't want to happen.
So, you'll probably have a conversation at some point with someone about a serger, and I love to use it for my stretch fabrics, because they, I can breeze through my stretch fabrics on my serger that I fight with on my sewing machine. And differential feed is why you can make that work so much easier on a serger, because your sewing machine doesn't have that feature.
Right.
So that is what differential feed makes work.
Really wanted to get was some stretchy fabric so that we could show that.
Where did we lose that?
I have zero idea.
Did Jean move it? I think Jean moved it.
It's very possible.
Jean moved a lot of things. He went on a cleaning frenzy, and he was like, we need to move this. And I can't find a dang thing with any of the stuff that he moved. So Jean, if you're out there, where did you put it?
Right. So we always want to start in neutral, unless you've already perfected some sort of a stitch, or you're trying to intentionally do something,
or whatever it is that you're trying to do.
We want to start in N. And the weird thing about differential feed is that it can affect the way your stitch looks. So if your differential feed is in the wrong space and you are stitching, your stitches will not look like they are supposed to look like.
So one of the wonderful things about these machines, and I don't mean just the Triumph, I mean about all of them, is that they don't really make mistakes. So if your stitch does not look like the picture on these cards, you probably programmed something wrong. And unfortunately, elbows and random things hit that differential feed button over there, and we don't realize it. And when we're messing with all of these dials, trying to fix, quote unquote, whatever we did, we oftentimes forget it because it's not on the card. It's not one of the settings, because to make that stitch correct, it's not a setting that we adjust. So we forget to look over there. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've had over the years of, well, my stitch just looks like, I'm like, well, what's your differential feed at if everything else is correct? Oh,
yep.
So it's a wonderful thing, but it can be oh man.
Yes.
So make sure that it's an intentional adjustment when you want it as well. So if you aren't looking like you want to look, it is possible that you've bumped that into something else.
We also have a slide speed control. So this is, thank you, what the stitch is supposed to look like when you're finished stitching. And it has a lot, it's huge, it's really wide. Why don't you slide it in B and do the other side, and I'm going to go see if I can grab a stretchy.
So, I don't sew as fast as Sarah does. But all right, so if you are looking at the side that we like, that is this side. The side we don't like is this side. So if you look really close, you can see that the fabric is actually being squished in that stitch. So it's pulling that too tight. I'm going to turn it over. You can see a little bit better over here too. We have an actual pucker in that fabric. She's back.
Oh, stretchy fabric.
She found stretchy fabric. So that
You
is
done that twice. It's like on
seriously?
your belt buckle.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Your shoe.
So that is having the wrong dial selected and what that does. So perfect stitch versus not perfect stitch. And it is literally, you can see it even in just the width of that because it's squishes that in where it's not supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah, put that right.
We flipped that back over. But the beautiful thing about this is how much stretch we're gonna get. Like, this is super stretchy.
Yes, it is.
And we're not gonna do anything different. There is no special thread in here. This is just your regular everyday inexpensive. This is not
good
thread.
Stuff here, guys.
Serger thread. So I'm just gonna slide this underneath. I want to make sure that I'm trimming just a little bit, and okay, so here's my thread, here's my fabric, and watch this.
You can't do that on a sewing machine.
You can't, no matter how good you sew with your regular sewing machine.
And what stitch you've selected, that will not work like that.
You will never get this much stretch without a stitch popping.
Okay.
Is it Tony approved?
And Tony's like, yep, that looks right.
Yeah, he's not going to say anything. He's going to be super quiet. People think that we're talking to ourselves.
You want me to tap my mic? Is that?
So, the basics of your serger are making sure that you have your stitch selector in the appropriate place for your stitch. You have your differential feed where you want your differential feed to be, and you have your stitch length and your stitch width where you want it to be. So if you get those things correct, you're going to be good every single time. If your stitch is not the way that you think it should be, it's typically one of these things.
Yep.
So I always encourage you to just rethread. It doesn't take much time to do that. So just go back to the beginning and rethread it, because most of the time that's going to alleviate the issues that you might be having, because the machine itself is going to compensate.
You can't blame the machine usually.
Yeah, it's very rare that it's the machine. And I did bring some like fuzzy fleece over too, because I thought, a lot of times you really, you really
Karen
have
was just here.
I know.
You're going to get in trouble.
You really have to make a lot of changes. So I have 3 layers of this underneath here, and we have made no adjustments whatsoever. I'm just sliding the foot up a little bit so that I can get it here. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch through this. So aside from the fact that there are fuzzies poking out, the stitch is perfect along the edge. It is exactly the way that it is supposed to be. And we just like quadrupled the
thickness of what we were going through
of the fabrics. So
more than that,
we just went through all kinds of different things, and we had to make no changes.
Not a one.
We didn't have to change a
no
single
thread, no needle, no settings, nothing.
So
you could switch from organza to blue jean
mm-hmm.
and literally just keep sewing.
Absolutely. So if you have a serger, you got a serger for Christmas. If you bought it from us, if you didn't buy it from us, get it out of the box. Start playing around with it. You don't want this to be a doorstop. It's super fun to play with, and you don't have to make clothes if you're.
No,
it's great if you do.
It's a fantastic tool if you want to. But there are so many things that you can do with these machines that's not clothing. It does not have to be clothes.
It doesn't. I don't sew clothes at all, but I do own a serger, and I own this one, and it's fantastic. But even if you can't afford to own this one, you own a baby lock serger that has auto tensions. I tell people I love the ease of threading this machine, but the reality is really we can teach you to thread any machine, but what is
being
hard
able to switch from things to
is this stuff.
The tensions are not something that is a quick lesson of, all you have to do is turn that one to 5 and that's not a thing.
No, it's not.
That's not a thing. There is no such thing as a magic number on a tension dialed serger to make a magic number.
No, and
it's going to work on every other serger.
Sells some tension dial sergers,
sure.
and the honest truth is, if we have 5 of those sergers sitting next to each other, everybody's starting point is a little bit different. No one is exactly in the same spot. If we have 20 of these triumphs, everybody is on A.
Yep.
There is no fiddling. It's just you turn the dial to the correct stitch.
Yep. When you're in a class with one of these, your settings, you can cheat off your neighbor.
That's right.
What are we doing?
That's right. Well, unless your neighbor is one of us, because we're probably not following
the directions. We've either that or we're like 4 steps somewhere else.
Yeah, we're like,
because we're like,
do this.
we're totally gonna I changed
doing.
what I'm doing.
Yeah, don't follow me.
Maybe don't follow us. But in theory, you could totally cheat off your neighbor in something, because it's literally all spelled out for you on one of these things. And this comes with the machine.
It does.
And you don't have to memorize it because it's right there. I just keep that card there. I know if my left needle is in, I'm on A, and if it's not, I'm on B. And then there's some special things that go elsewhere. But most of the time I'm using a 4 thread. So I don't even have to look that up unless I'm doing something completely different. And then I pull it out and I thread however it tells me to thread.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have it memorized. I got lots of stuff floating around in there. I don't have that whole thing memorized. Oh, for crying out loud.
Mm-mm.
You don't need to.
No, because the card is there.
The card is right there. And if you lose it, you can print out another one.
Yeah.
It's downloadable. We can help you find that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but super duper easy.
So, yes, obviously we really like these sergers. If any of you have ever wondered, this is why we are a baby lock dealer, are these sergers.
Absolutely.
Because there is nothing better out there. No matter what anybody tells you, there is nothing out there better than this brand and these types of sergers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't let anybody tell you things like, you can't do decorative threads or you shouldn't, because it's not true.
Somebody might have said that in their previous life. I don't know how to work those, so I'm just going to tell you what I want to tell you.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
If you should not you shouldn't take your baby lock to a different brand of place when they don't sell baby locks, because they're going to tell you some weird stuff. It's not true. No, you just need your card and you can keep up with everyone. You don't need the special tools to do all of the different things.
But speaking of tools,
yes,
this little guy changes your needle. Okay, so it's just a hex head screwdriver, comes with the machine. Super simple. Some of the lower, like whatnot, it's a regular screwdriver, but you're going to need that because you're going to be moving your needles around. and highly recommend our favorite Precision Point tweezers. $10 will get you a pair of those. It comes with tweezers. These are so much better. So much better. So there are.
It should come with
it really
this pair of tweezers. So if anybody from Baby Lock is watching,
you really need to do these. totally need to do these. All the difference in the world. It's night and day.
Yes.
I started counting. I lost track at 6. I was like, oh,
how many
I have at home.
Yeah.
I stopped counting at 6. I was like, oh, there's more, but I'm just gonna give up.
Yeah.
So I wish we could still find those.
Yeah, maybe she'll come back. Maybe it's an issue,
seasonal or a production issue or something.
I would imagine it's a production issue at this point.
But yeah, so but it doesn't matter what color the metal is, whether it's got a red handle, a yellow handle, it's completely silver, whether you were able to get one of these rainbow guys, whether there's multiple different ones. But this shape, it's the bomb.
It is.
That's what you need right there.
Absolutely.
So
if you want more information on your Serger,
shoot us an email. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
So we can't text. Sorry, Cindy. The only cell phones that we have are ours, and we love all of you dearly, but you are not having our personal cell phone numbers. Love you all, but sorry.
I'll send you a Facebook message.
That would be a possibility, but no texting, not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that is one of Jean's rules. I agree with.
Yeah, and we will be sending out the newsletter.
Yes.
It's really not the newsletter.
It's not. It's just a class. Things that are classes and pre-orders and things. I didn't delete all the other stuff because why?
Because Lisa's got Embroidery Club.
I've got Embroidery Club same days, just like we have done before. So Serger Club and Embroidery Club. First, Embroidery Club, I am going to be using an OESD file that is going to be quilting foundation blocks in the hoop. So we're going to just make a simple pillow, but it's super cute. And if you want the rest of it, I'll show you where to get the rest of the files, but you're going to get 3 of the patterns to create that. And kit is an optional. I'm not requiring that. So if you don't live close by and you want to partake, we can email you the files because they do allow that. And so we can all party. That's going to be next Wednesday. I'm after we close. She's before we open. So Serger is at 9:30, and I am at 5 on Wednesday. Next Wednesday, the 27th. 6.
Yeah, the 26th and the 29th.
And then the 29th is Saturday, 9:30. And I am at 3 on Saturday. So she's going to be doing an in detail of Serger basics on, again, 9:30 on Wednesday or Saturday. And I'm going to be doing embroidery quilting in the hoop.
Yep.
So
we'll cover threading again for anybody that is having some difficulty. But my goal is to talk about some of the other stitches. So I'm going to talk about flat locks and
some of the weird things that you have to do.
Things that
maybe you can make notes on your card that they don't tell you in there, because there are some weird little things that you're like, I did everything it said.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
I'm supposed to do what? I've even done that.
So Kathy asked, how do you join Serger Club? So if you are on our email list, you will get an email later on this evening with the information. If you are not on our email list, you can, we have 3 ways to sign up for this particular Serger Club. If you purchased your machine from us, this month's Serger Club is free. So on our website, on the shopping portal part of our website, you can go to the classes calendar, and there is a Serger Club class that you can sign up for. You can pick the date, and then you can pick how you need to sign up. So if you purchase your machine from us, there will be a drop-down menu. The first thing you will say is you bought your machine from us, or you didn't buy your machine from us. If you didn't buy your machine from us, the class is $20 unless you have a punch card. And then you can pick, I purchased it from you. I didn't purchase it from you and I am paying my $20, or I didn't purchase from you and
I want to use use my punch card.
So you can select one of the 3 ways. You will only be charged if you said, I did not purchase from your
you want to
machine from
pay
you
instead
and
of
you want to
using the
pay.
punch.
It's $20. There is no there's no kit fee. That's just the sign up for the class. And then underneath there, you will pick the machine that you have. So there's only select models that are that we're doing because it's virtually. They all kind of have to be the same style, and then you can pick the day, Wednesday or Saturday. So and then if you pick the punch card version, you
will
won't
need to come in.
That's right. You won't receive the Zoom link until you actually come in and we punch your card.
Yeah, we haven't figured out how to reach through the computer yet.
No,
working
like
on
I
it.
said, I'm mulling around some ideas, but we haven't figured that out yet. So that's how you would sign up for Serger Club.
Yep.
And
so just for anybody who hasn't ever heard of those things before, the term club isn't like you have to have a membership. It's just our terminology to let everybody here know how much those classes cost. Club means that you can use the punch cards. That is really what it means. It means the class fee is $20 and that you can use the punch card. The punch cards are available to prepay, and you basically pay a little bit less per class if you prepay for them. So that is what club means. There's not a membership fee or anything like that you have to come to so many.
Yep.
It is $20 per class. So whether you come in January and then we don't see you again until July or whatever. So it's literally whenever you want to partake in whatever it is that we're doing. So you pick and choose what you're interested in. We do this for sergers. We do it for embroidery, also scan and cut. And then we have done sewing as well. We'll see how that goes and what comes up. Some of them have been put on hold with COVID because it's just a lot to do some of this virtually. Some of these things are very impossible to do virtually. There's just too many different variables out there. So we'll see how things are going and how we can add things back in. And when you get the email, you'll know what's available.
Absolutely.
So there you go.
Okay.
So it is $20 per class, not per month or any. It is one per month, but so.
Or two, depending.
There's two technically, because I'll be doing Embroidery Club and she'll be doing Serger Club. So it's not $20 for both. It's $20 per class.
Yeah.
Hopefully that clarified that. So hopefully this helped with the threading and the basic parts and bits and bobbles of the sergers. If you got a new one recently, or maybe just a refresher course if you've had one for a little while. We are glad that you tuned in. And we'll see you guys real soon. All right. Take care. See you next time.
Bye. Oops, I have to hit the right button.
Yeah,
Bye.
that helps. Bye, guys.